we may lose our sobriety for a day or for a week. Who knows? Like, we could spiral. But as long as we're diligent about showing up and following the growth path and engaging that and engaging in our recovery over time, we may lose our sobriety, but we don't lose our recovery.
Hello.
Again. Maybe my mistake. Maybe it was an accident. Hopefully not. But whatever way, you found your way here to the Porn to Purpose podcast. Once again, we're your hosts. I'm Matt Sinkovitz. This is my co-host, Yeadon Smith. Yeadon, awesome to have you here today, brother. Thank you, brother. Hey, spring is in the air is what I'm feeling here in Pennsylvania, brother. What are you feeling down there in
well, if it's spring in Pennsylvania, then it's probably, I'm getting a thumbs up. It's like summertime down here. It's 81 degrees outside this afternoon, which sounds cool until all the flowers start blooming, and then there's always one last cold snap before Easter. Always.
Yeah, you're right.
So we'll have all the flowers in 2 weeks, and then they'll die at the end of March.
Yes. I do feel hopeful. I feel like in the movie Chronicles of Narnia, when they say Aslan is on the move, when the White Witch is losing her grasp, is what it feels like.
Dude, those are great stories. Great stories.
Indeed.
So much.
Indeed. Well, we got some good stuff. Yeah, we got a great conversation.
We're both starting at the same time. Let's just both talk at the same time and unload double barrels at this, right? Yeah, we got good stuff today. Go for it, bro. No, you.
Okay. So, we've got one of these beautiful black and white questions for you today. I have found myself personally in this work, there's a lot of perfectionism. I know for me, porn addiction, there's addiction in general, there seems to be this tendency towards perfectionism. I want black and white. I want to know, how do I quit porn? How long is it going to take? What is the exact process? And speaking of how long it's going to take, that's going to be the focus of today's conversation. How
long does it take to quit porn? Actually, now that I know we were talking about this before we went live, I forgot until just now. I was, because I've told you about my journal. I keep a digital journal. It has the feature where this is what you wrote a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Yeah. And I don't want to spend time pulling it up now, but I was reading through old entries and I just saw this cryptic note in my journal: rewire day 6/30.
Wow.
Now I know what that means.
Yeah.
Because I wrote it cryptically in my journal. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I got to rewire my brain.
Yeah.
I got to figure this porn addiction out.
Yes.
And I remember, I don't exactly remember I have to go back to my journalist, but I saw that entry and I started looking up, what are the other rewire entries that I made? Yes. What was going on in my life at this time? Because I wrote it in this cryptic fashion.
Right.
So that if anybody ever reads my journal, it's not like porn recovery day 1.
Right.
Day 5.
Right.
Yeah. So how long does it take?
Oh man.
To quit porn, right? You know what? I'm going to go on ChatGPT right now. How long does it take to quit a bad habit?
Yeah. Go ahead and ask Chat. I'll tell you this.
How long does it take to break a bad habit, right? Because that's what porn is. It's a bad habit, right? 21 to 90 days to break a habit.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. 21 days, the myth. The idea comes from a book based on observations, not scientific studies. 66 days is the science, 2009 study by University College of London. 90 days, deep rewiring. Oh, and it even mentions this in the ChatGPT. 90-day rules popular in addiction recovery, such as OFAP, based on the idea that brain pathways start significantly rewiring around this time.
Yep.
So there we go. 90 days. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening.
There you go, guys. So I wish it were that easy, because there were many times in my journey, I was like, for me, for instance, when I first started my first program in this work, and I, pulled my credit card out and put my money where my mouth was and joined a program and said, I really need some help with this. I joined, I think, a 6-month program. And I was like, oh, thank God, I'm going to go through this program. It's going to be 6 months. I'm going to get fixed, and this thing's going to be over. And then by the end of the year, I'm going to be set, and this thing's going to be behind me. And what I came to find through my journey is just simply—
how'd that work out for you?
It simply wasn't the case. It simply wasn't the case. And so what I'd love to offer, I think, as our kind of our first point here today, is that there is no time frame.
Right.
There is no time frame. There is no black and white answer. There is no magic pill. Take the pill, take the solution, and I'm fixed. Yeah.
There's not. I mean, how many times did you try with if I can just make it 90 days, then maybe I'll be good. I don't know if I ever made it 90 days. Right. And I was stuck in this.
Oh man, time and time again. So what I found is it's not going to be there's not going to be a clear cut and dry answer for everybody. Now there are a lot of programs, like we offer a 6-month program. There are a lot of programs that promise you come in, you do your reboot, you learn the skills, and it's over. And I've learned, at least for me, and what I've observed and witnessed, and many men that I've had the honor of working with, is there's no cut and dry answer. There's no magic pill. And frankly, to our second point, it's a lifetime journey. It's a lifetime journey. What I've found is we all have predetermined tendencies, and what I learned from my good friend, who's also been in recovery for alcohol for his whole life, for many, many years. We're having a conversation around the topic of powerlessness, which is a whole other conversation that they talk about in the 12-step community. And I said, what does powerlessness mean to you? And he says, what it means to me is if I'm not actively engaged in my recovery, if I'm not intentional about this process on a daily basis, frankly, over time, I will eventually drink again. And I came to learn that about myself through pornography. This just seems to be one of my drugs of choice. And over time, if I neglect myself long enough, I let myself get depleted long enough, I disconnect from my recovery long enough, I allow old patterns and habits to kind of sneak back in, which they have a tendency to do. Over time, I'm going to have a tendency to drift back to these old behaviors. So it requires lifetime diligence is my opinion of the matter.
I would agree. And I would have maybe a slightly, adjacent perspective on this. Right. And I know we joked about this a lot, where I joined Porn to Purpose, got into the boot camp, and then after 90 days realizes that's it started clicking for me after 90 days.
Yeah.
But that was when a couple of things hit, right? The question, how long does it take to quit porn? It depends. Yeah. Because there are a couple of things that have to click for the journey really to start. Yeah. Because the joke it's still an ongoing joke, like, oh, Matt, has you joined the program? I'm like, get rid of porn. I didn't realize I had to actually become a better man.
Yes.
I didn't sign up for that. I just signed up to get rid of this addiction in my life.
Yeah.
And even though I would say that in jest, it really is accurate, because pornography, part of the framework that I had around, the only framework I had around pornography was the programming, the socialization I got growing up with. Pornography is a sin, evil, and it is so dangerous. Just stay away from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that perspective was not helpful at all.
Yeah.
In dealing with it as an addiction.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to tell somebody who has an addiction, just don't do it.
Right.
But without understanding why they're doing it, right? I didn't wake up in the morning and think like, you know what? I really want to sin today. No, man, I was a solid Christian on fire for Jesus, working as a full-time youth minister. I was on the mission field for a year, right? Building houses in Mexico, working at an orphanage, right? I was doing all the things.
Yeah.
You would think it would not be difficult to just avoid something that is such a bad sin. Right. I wouldn't, murder. No, I wasn't doing that. Mm-hmm. All the other 10 commandments, I was doing what I was supposed to do. Yeah. But this pornography, I couldn't avoid it. And I think part of the block was I didn't really understand what it was doing in my life. I just saw it as a sin that I had to avoid. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I started to have the shift in my thinking and understand pornography, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't have anything good to say about porn.
Yeah.
The industry ruins people's lives. Lots of pain and suffering is caused by the pornography industry. But when I stopped thinking about it as a sin and started thinking about it as a coping mechanism, that was a huge, that was a fundamental shift in how I viewed it. Because if I'm looking at it as a sin, there's no room for a mistake.
Yes.
There's no room to mess up. You got to go from addict to clean, sober, full recovery overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I started using the lens of, oh, I'm turning to porn because I have all this pain inside, and the addict part of me says, I know how we can get rid of the pain.
Yep.
Even for a moment, we can make it go away.
Yep.
When I understood that, it's like, oh, and I slowly started to be able to notice, oh, there's pain. Because before, I wouldn't even notice the pain. I would just be like, I want porn.
Yeah.
I would just jump, the inner part of me would jump straight to the solution, the only solution I had as a coping mechanism. Yep. So where were we? Like, how long does it take to quit porn? One, it's going to vary.
Yeah.
Some things have to click. This is one of those things for me that when this clicked, I started making progress.
Yep. Yep.
For sure.
Yep. So Yeadon's point number two, and he kind of went to the third point as well. But point number two, and you know, my suggestion is like, hey, this is a lifetime journey, and I believe this is something that requires ongoing diligence. Just like a diet. Yeadon, how many times have you like been dialed in on your diet, and over time you find yourself back to old habits with, you know, it's like we all have
back to the Costco tire pizza and
exactly
on a Friday night.
Like, what happened? You know, I was doing so good. So again, we get to remain diligent around this. To Yeadon's point, though, and I felt like you were kind of maybe hinting at this. I would say this. One thing that we speak to a lot in the community, Yeadon speaks to it a lot, and I think Yeadon demonstrates it in his journey, is that over time, what we can count on is, because we're so growth oriented in our community, in our approach here, and so focused on the personal evolution and personal transformation that is required, I think, in this journey. So we're not just white-knuckling it. That over time we become a man to whom pornography is irrelevant. And I think over time, as we remain committed to that growth path, over time we do change. And over time, maybe we slip again, maybe we fall down again, but we're fundamentally changed. And we're fundamentally a man who's got this framework in place, this community in place, this new mindset, and this internal change and transformation in place. So over time, like, I don't think we go back to our old way of being, at least not long term anyway. I do think there is a fundamental lasting change that occurs and is possible for all of us.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
I would say that's 100% true. There comes a time where it's like, right, is it the red pill or the blue pill? Right? It's like once you take the red pill and start this journey, it's like, oh, I see it. Yeah. And I hear it. And I understand it. Yeah. And I might lose my sobriety streak.
Right.
But I really have changed fundamentally who I am, how I relate to myself.
Yes.
How I handle conflict, emotional pain, stress, negative thoughts, whatever it is that's going on. Right. Yeah. So that my go-to initially is not porn anymore. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it has to be a lot to break through all the defenses of how my life is structured to get to the point where, oh, yeah, you know what? Screw it.
Yeah.
Pornhub.com.
Exactly. And to Yeadon's point, you know, Yeadon, you talked about like taking the red pill, and over time, and you were talking about earlier about how you were beginning to like notice like, oh, there's the pain. And what I find is as we grow and we grow in awareness, over time, we can begin to see, oh, there's the urge to want to use porn. And also, oh, there's also pain present. So we can begin to see that it's not, as we've talked about on previous episodes, not just a sex thing. Right. It's not just there's more going on beneath the surface. So as we begin to put the puzzle pieces together, we take the pill, we begin to wake up. There is no going back. There is no going back. We're fundamentally changed once we see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for some, like I'm thinking of my own journey.
Yeah.
It took me, well, from age 8 to 42. So how long does it take to quit porn? What is that? 34 years. It took me 34 years. Right. But at the same time, once this clicked, the quitting was easy. Because it's like, I don't know if you've read the book. I have it somewhere on a shelf. It's called The Path of Least Resistance. When I don't remember everything from the book, but one of the analogies that it uses is a river. If you're trying to change the path, the course of a river, really the only way you can do it, you don't do it by just trying to force the water to go in a different direction. Right. That's the path of most resistance. Mm-hmm. The way you do it is you start digging another channel. Right. Digging where you want the river to go. And at some point that becomes deep enough that boom, the river just diverts and goes in that direction, because that is the path of least resistance. Yeah. And for me, once I got into boot camp, doing the work, reading the books, being in the community, being present, sharing what was going on, it's like the connection started to happen in my brain where it's like, oh, and then it felt like in a moment, suddenly this channel was deep enough that the river shifted. Yeah. So how long does it take to quit porn? Right. It depends, man. It depends. Yeah. It can happen very quickly. Yeah. If it can happen very quickly, if you're in the right place. Yes. Yep. So it's an ongoing journey. There's no specific time frame. I would say it's individual. Yeadon kind of spoke to this already. It's like, and this kind of reminds me of like, the student sits before the teacher and asks a very direct question, and the teacher gives some elusive answer, you know? And I feel like part of that is kind of like helping the student to kind of reframe their thinking. And I feel like you kind of offered that. And it was kind of our third point here today. You already spoke to it. It's like, it's more about the fundamental shift that occurs from us, the shift from seeing this as bad, seeing this as a sin, seeing this as something that's inherently wrong with us, seeing it as an addiction over. It's a coping mechanism. It's an attempt for me to emotionally regulate. And I want to add just another piece to that shift in the framework of how we're perceiving all this is that we may lose our sobriety for a day or for a week, and who knows? Like we could spiral. But as long as we're diligent about showing up and following the growth path and engaging that and engaging in our recovery over time, we may lose our recovery. Our sobriety, but we don't lose our recovery. We don't lose the lessons learned. We can't go back to sleep. We can't unsee what we've begun to see. So we may lose sobriety, but we don't lose the recovery as long as we're diligent in showing up to it consistently. Yeah, for sure. That fundamental shift from thinking about porn as a sin versus a coping mechanism, that one shift right there was, I would say, that was the game changer on my journey. Yeah. And I would also say that shift, it would not have happened for me on my own. It wouldn't have happened. The only reason it happened for me was because plugged in on support calls in the boot camp, right? I'm not saying like the boot camp is the end all be all, right? Obviously, we want you to join the boot camp, dude who's listening, right? We want you with us. We want you on this journey. We want you to have freedom. We want you to be the man that pornography just doesn't affect. Right. But I'm telling you, it doesn't happen in isolation. Yep. It doesn't. Yep. The work is too deep. We have to get too raw. And Like when I first started, I was not a safe space for myself to be vulnerable. The group provided the safety because I saw other men being vulnerable. I was like, oh, this really is a safe place to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Nobody is expecting me to be perfect on these calls.
Yep.
It's really about progress over perfection. It's easy to say, oh, it's about progress over perfection. Yeah, this time I had, 7 days porn free and then went back to my habits. And then I had 30 days porn free. It's like, dude, you're still just white-knuckling it.
Yep.
And that's not going to work long term.
Yep.
So how long does it take? We got the three things. We don't know. How long does it take? It varies on, right? Because things have to click ahead of time.
Yeah.
The second point was
it's a journey. It's a journey.
Right? It's a journey, right? The recovery is different than sobriety. Recovery is active. Recovery is me getting up at my wake up time, doing my core 4, reading, journaling, meditating, strengthening that framework of how I cope with life.
Yes.
Without porn. That's my recovery.
Yes.
The sobriety follows.
Yes.
And then number 3 was this fundamental shift from, and actually, you know what? I would say the fundamental shift is number 2. We have to have the fundamental shift in how we understand this. And then number 3 is, and then we're active in building those new coping mechanisms. Yeah. How we cope with life.
Yep. Yep. Beautiful, brother. So Yeadon, what's the first step for a brother who's ready to dig into this process and move forward, such as you
did?
If
you're here with us and you're ready to get serious about recovery and build new coping mechanisms and become bulletproof to porn, hit us up. Like let us know. We want to connect, right? There we are right here, porntopurpose.com.
Yep.
Check that site out. Some info with just some questions to answer and book a private call with Matt or with me, right? Get to porntopurpose.com. You can find us on Facebook, Porn to Purpose Facebook group. Yeah. Right. Get connected. But if you're struggling, brother, reach out. You're not alone. We've been there. We know what the pain feels like. We know how dark it is. We know what that voice sounds like in the back of my head saying that, you're a piece of shit. That's what I felt like all the time. Yeah. Check out porntopurpose.com. We want you to have support. We want you to have freedom, liberation.
Yes. Liberation Boot Camp. Brothers, thanks so much for joining us here today. Yeadon, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for sharing aspects of your journey and for your example in the community.
One other thing, I know we said it varies, but hey, the boot camp is a 6-month program. So there you go.
Perfect. You want to know how long it takes? There you go.
6 months. It takes 6 months and then the rest of your life.
Yes. Beautiful. Good stuff. Brothers, thanks so much for being here today. Yeadon, thank you so much, brother. Love and appreciate you all. Men, wherever you're coming from in the world, thank you for being here today, and we'll see you soon. Peace and power, my brothers. We are noble men.